G'day and welcome to Talking Aussie Farming. I'm your host, Jono Weinstock from FarmCap, where we talk all things Australian agriculture from the paddock to the boardroom. Today we've got a very special guest, Sarah Gorman from DAS, Digital Agriculture Services. Sarah is a multiple startup founder and is a co-founder of DAS, which is a product that we love and use. Welcome, Sarah, to the show.
Oh, thanks so much, Jono. And I have to say, it's such a pleasure to be on the Talking Aussie Farming podcast. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Very excited for today's chat. We use your product and are a very happy customer. And it is a game changer in the industry. And I guess we like talking about businesses and people who are actually making a real impact. So just maybe to start off, keen to learn a bit about your background and how you got into this business opportunity.
Okay. All right. Well, as I said, pleasure to be here. Look, I'm a serial founder and entrepreneur. I did my first company when I was 25 years old. DAS is my third company. We've been around now for around 8 years. We founded the company in partnership with the CSIRO around 8 years ago. And what we're all about is helping business find, finance, invest and insure in rural assets and portfolios. I love hearing that DAS is a game changer for your business as well. You know, we are specifically around supporting off-farm decision-making, and we're really proud of the impact that we're having as well. So thanks for sharing such positive things.
No, it is. And I guess just a bit of an understanding or overview of what it actually does, I guess, and I guess maybe I'll share how we use it in our business, but it provides geospatial data, which means, I guess, aerial footage that digs really deep into every plot of land that's been mapped for Australian rural land, which is phenomenal. So, for example, we look at farms every day and we can plug in the address or the title and it maps it instantly, and we can see crop types, structures, rainfall, carrying capacity for livestock, in a click of a few buttons, and it gives us a really quick glimpse to make investment decisions, which ultimately help us provide credit to farmers they probably can't otherwise get. So otherwise we'd be waiting months or relying on maybe a Google Earth search, and that's about it, which doesn't tell you a whole lot. So, I mean, that's fundamentally how we use it day to day. But, I mean, it's really evolved over time, I guess, with the CSIRO and the access to data and the tech involved. It's the ultimate kind of ag tech business, I guess, with some really cool features. So I'm keen to hear a bit more about, I guess, just the product and the kind of the features and the problems that it's solving.
Absolutely. So, well, one, I think I need you to get, when you're no longer doing FarmCap or the farming podcast, you need to come to the dark side and work for DAS because you're doing a great job in selling what we do.
Oh, happy to, with pleasure.
Look, you're right. We kind of do three things, I would say. We auto map rural properties anywhere across Australia or New Zealand. We pour high-value data sets, everything from AI-driven crop identification to climate intelligence, or really simple things like how many parcels an agri property is made up of. And then that allows anyone in finance, in business, landowners, all kinds of different, anyone that's basically passionate about Australian agriculture and the land to evaluate those assets, and or regions, to look at the opportunities, to better understand the risks, etc. as well. And look, there's a really good chance that if you're borrowing money in Australia or insuring a property, that there's going to be a DAS report attached to that application these days. So we've got great rural advisors working, in the bush and in the regions that are helping their clients do everything from succession planning to unlocking finance, just like a FarmCap. And what they're doing is, as they help their clients, they go into DAS, which is a geospatial engine. So think DAS really allows you to visualize and search and see any property from anywhere, including in 3D now, I would add as well. even things like slope, where are the structures? Are they at the top of the hill or not? But that report is usually attached to bank applications, to, insurance applications, any kind of finance, etc. And why this is really important is that our experience is that it results in much fairer finance. So farmers, landowners, etc., get better priced loans. They also get better priced insurance. And the reason for that is that the data that gets submitted allows lenders, insurers, and other bodies, and predominantly lenders, to actually say, we can see this, we can better understand the data, and they can normally give a better deal as a consequence of that.
Now, that's an excellent overview, and it also speeds up the process dramatically.
Totally.
So whereas historically I'm not sure what happened 10, 20 years ago, you'd be twiddling your thumbs waiting for a valuer to eventually get out there and maybe take a few snaps and a bit of guesswork. But now it's kind of at your fingertips. That helps transactions move a lot faster for us. We're a relatively small player compared to the banks, but from what I understand, you've got a few major banks using your product, who provide the majority of debt to agriculture in Australia, and also major insurers. So it sounds like you got some blue chip clients. Hopefully one day we'll be considered a blue chip client. But you've got some big names and companies using your product, which is not easy for any startup to get any major corporate to use an innovative product, and convincing people around a boardroom to use something that's practical. Whereas I guess we've got that entrepreneurial startup mentality, whereas we see something that's useful and we can jump on it straight away. So what's the challenge been like dealing with some of the major businesses in Australia?
Well, first of all, let me say that we would consider you a blue chip client anyway, right from the very start. And look, I think like any startup, we're driven by finding a problem that we couldn't solve. So when we started DAS, and, there's a saying in startup that when you set something up, you're literally flying the plane off the cliff, right? And you're just trying as hard as you can to get it to go upwards. And do we have a business, etc.? And when we started DAS, the problem that we were solving around was we just didn't understand why you could get such a better finance deal on, say, a city apartment, yet the very best farmers and property owners across the country were lucky to get finance at a 60 to 70% loan to value ratio, which is basically much higher interest rates. And for us, it was like, how do we actually take this intersection between finance and farmland, and then with everything that goes with that, and strengthen that connection, right? Like if we think about land in this country, it's 55% of the country. We've got the highest lendings of agri-lending ever. I think it's around 130 billion plus now. And one of the great, problems and things that I've been most excited about as well is that when we started, it was just really the NABs, the ANZs, the Rabobanks. Rabobank's a client of DAS, doing great lending in this country. And what's happened over the last number of years is that all kinds of businesses now participate in that. So we've seen the rise of second-tier lenders. So everyone from a judo to non-bank lenders, etc. as well, and right through to the smaller players and advisors. And when you talk about speed, this is really important, right? Like where you can compete basically at the same pace as any of the major, banks, insurers, or anyone's. And what that basically does is democratize the opportunity across the country, right? So it's better for everybody. There's more small businesses like yours and ours, right? DAS employs about 25 plus people. We're considered now, which makes me laugh a little bit, probably the leading agri FinTech in this country. When I'm not doing DAS, I chair FinTech Australia, which is the leading advocacy organisation in the country.
That's very fascinating. That's probably a whole conversation in itself, but you are a
Whole
FinTech.
sideline.
But you're very much a major player in FinTech and probably the leading ag tech, one of the leading ag tech companies in Australia.
Yeah, I mean, we were really proud that here in Victoria, we were the startup of the year last year. And, we nearly fell off our chairs when we got that.
Oh, it's a massive
You
accolade.
know,
No, congratulations.
I,
It's
I,
not an easy
yeah,
feat. There's some
yeah,
stiff competition, and there's a lot of innovative entrepreneurs out there building things. But you've actually pulled it off, and it's working, and that's and with paying customers, and
I think
customers that
so.
are sticky and are likely to stick around. So I think that um, that probably tells a story. I'd be keen to understand the team. You've got a fascinating team. The payroll bill's probably climbing, but it's a mix of tech,
Mm,
science, agri, and business, isn't it? And
yeah,
I've met some of
totally.
your team, and there are some smart cookies on your team.
Yeah, no, we've got like we're really proud of our team. It really is, and the culture that we have built at the company. We've got about 25, 28 people or so now. We're fully remote. We do have offices in the city as well, but really we want the best people from everywhere. Our data science team and all of the work that we do in crop identification, which is actually now used by the government across every state, the likes of the Australian Bureau of Statistics use us to help, produce their own statistics. But Sam Atkinson and the team are based in WA. We've got really smart young data scientists here. The geospatial team, so both with engineering and product. We have because we're a product focused company. Um, we're building and we've built out a really mature geospatial technology system now with lots of different tools. And then we've got climate specialists.
Hmm.
We've got people that are passionate about marketing and sales. But I think that the thing that brings us all together is we're really passionate about the land and the opportunity here as well. And look, we just love what we do. I think that's what you and I have in common as well.
I can tell, and I must say, I do appreciate you're probably our number one liker on our LinkedIn posts. So we do acknowledge, but you can see the passion that oozes for people who,
Yeah.
and both of us, I guess, have come from outside ag in.
Yeah,
And we've stuck around. Some people probably don't last or pop their heads in and out, but we're still here almost a decade later, and hope to
totally.
be in another decade. So you
Yeah.
can't hide the passion, and like you say, the glue that holds it together is actually the genuine, authentic interest in the
Mm,
land and helping farmers stay on the land
yeah,
and grow more food and be more productive, right? And I think that's what we look
totally.
for in our team. When we interview people, you can really see the difference between someone who just wants a job in finance and funds management, or someone
Yeah.
who's actually passionate about helping a farmer. And it's hard to find that unique blend, but you've got
Well,
some
I think,
passionate people.
yeah, well, I think that, like, I would say that we both sit at the intersection of new industries as well, right? So we've got that great intersection between land and farming and finance, etc., as well. As Australia shifts from being a country that just produces, old kinds of energy, etc., we're going to see this great new generation of farmers come on. But at the same time, we've got these incredible new industries rising up. So
Mm.
the industry that we say we work in is because of the geospatial element, so the maps that everybody sees, the maps that people rely on through, the Ubers of this world, is that we say it's spatial finance. This was
Hmm.
a term originally coined out of Oxford University, and that's really the industry that we work in. And my hypothesis is that we're going to see so much employment in the future in these industries. We're going to see these smart, younger families, producers continuing to use tech on the farm in ways that hasn't been done in the future. But what
Mm.
we need is the greatest deal of funding for these families as well. And that links back to this discipline, which literally didn't exist, 10 plus years ago around spatial finance, because it's going to unlock the investment that we need to see and make sure that we keep rural communities, well financed, farming families with capital they need to do what they need to do, all kinds of different things. And Look, I'm probably going to go off track here, but one of the really exciting things that we've been able to do through the team as well is the work around machine learning and geospatial, where we have been able to identify what is growing where and, do things now where we've got insight into what's happening with harvest in real time or
Hmm.
near real across the country. So we can actually start to say, what are we producing? Where's it coming from? Is it being affected by climate risk?
Hmm.
You know, going on. But this intersection between, finance and farmland and the newer industries, which you're in as well, is, really exciting. And, I'm not going to lie, it's really tough running these kinds of
Yeah, I'm
businesses.
sure. I bet. I mean, but
It
there's some
goes
cool
roller
features.
coaster.
So it's a roller coaster, I'm sure. But you've come a long journey from a startup to
Yeah.
working with the CSIRO to raising external funds to actually growing a business. And the future looks bright. But some of the features are quite remarkable. So if you have a look on DAS's LinkedIn page, you can see maps, for example, of all the bores that have been drilled in a location. I mean, so we just went out on farm 3 hours from Rockhampton earlier this week, and
Mm.
he promised us he's got another bore, and where is it? And is it likely to have water? So rather than take his word for it, we can log on straight away and kind of drill down. So it was quite fascinating to see the whole region of who's got water and where is it, in
Totally.
a simple map. I mean, that was quite remarkable intelligence. And then even the forestation data was
Mm.
fascinating. So just
Yeah.
understanding what's going on and where visually,
Mm.
and I
Yeah.
guess that has huge implications for understanding what's happening in Australia and globally with deforestation and its impacts. I
Yeah.
guess agriculture is probably one of the primary drivers, where it's
Mm.
replacing trees with productive crops. So it's there's a whole debate about deforestation, but the data's pretty fascinating. The crop intel is kind of cool. So you can see what's growing now on farm and what has grown historically. So that the
Mm.
data from space to be able to, I guess, look under the ground and determine that data is kind of cool. Look, we lend against property, but there's other players in the market who lend on livestock and crops, and so I guess it's not only us that benefits, but those other
Yeah.
funders who specialise. So I guess there's just so many current and long-term uses. Climate change is a big
Mm.
ticket item on everyone's radar. So no, just really impressed. And the maps that you show, those little posts, I think tell a story really quickly.
Definitely. And look, you mentioned bore water. I mean, all the things that happen in DAS actually normally come from our clients as well. So the bore water was something that one of our clients said, "Can we get this?" And we went back, had a chat with the team, and they're like, "Yeah, yeah, we used to have that when we started. We got rid of it. Let's bring it back." And it's been one of the really exciting things in the last number of weeks that everybody loves it. It's become one of the top ranked features in DAS. On things like deforestation, actually deforestation is one of those odd issues that gets a lot of, press globally and, as well as here. The risk actually in Australia is really low. And it's a really solvable issue. And I think that landowners get needlessly beaten up about this because the analysis that we're doing shows that most of deforestation is through causes like, fire or normal clearing. It's not actually something that's going to kind of affect exports or produce. Where it is interesting, though, is that probably within 5 years or so, every producer in Australia will be able to have or will need to have their own certifications to ensure that they can export, right? Like this is coming way down the line very fast from markets like the EU, whereby you'll need to certify that your grain, for instance, hasn't been produced on land that has been deforested.
Right.
Now, geospatial and the maps actually allow that to ensure that you're certified, right?
Right.
So
So
we're
you can prove if you're an exporter
like,
of where your crop has been
yeah,
grown and whether the land is kosher or not, so to speak.
Yeah,
Right.
totally. And it is. But, the analysis that we've done, on really large portfolios is it's coming back with, really small results despite all of the, agitation around this. What is great is that anyone can now send a drone up into the air and check things.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the democratization of geospatial, of data, of maps, etc. And you speak on climate change. One of the things that we're kind of doing, not just at an individual property level, is actually at portfolio level. So we want every kind of major finance player and smaller in the country to know, say a flood has gone through a region or a producer wants, their claim approved or validated. We can actually, squeeze that process down to a couple of hours now, where it should be, have you been affected or impacted? Yes, we can show that geospatially you have been,
Mm-hmm.
and that should unlock the claims or the finance that you need as well. Same with like drought affected areas.
Yeah.
Can you validate that? That'll unlock some government support. Yes, we can validate it, and away you go. So,
Can I just say that that's absolutely brilliant. So, I mean, if you're growing food, you need to be near a water source, and so most
yeah,
farms are somewhat, in some kind of flood region. The question is, to what extent are they at risk?
yeah,
Um, and the history tells a story, and you can kind of,
yeah.
I guess, insurance companies make decisions based on data and predictability and maths. So, I mean, that data should really paint the picture
Yeah,
to
totally.
be able to objectively assess. And the same with drought, I guess. People from outside farming get a bit scared. Fire, drought, floods, they
Mm,
don't quite understand the real risks and the long-term effects, short and long-term, and
yeah,
particularly the government. So, the RIC loans which came out, helping drought-affected farmers.
yeah.
How do they? I mean, they used some maps at the time. Are you in a drought-affected region? But I'm guessing they'll
Mm,
probably be relying on your data now to help
mm,
assess, that government
totally. Yeah,
assistance.
because
Yeah.
what you want to do is unlock that funding as fast as you
Mm.
can, right? And, you know, we're now moving to a state whereby you won't just have a form on a website where you say, this is my name and address, etc. It's actually going to have a geospatial map there
Mm.
as well, which will then allow you to confirm your details ASAP and then unlock that kind of funding as well. And look, as far as climate risk goes, I mean, climate variability is one of the great, every producer and landowner across the country knows how variable our climate is. And, but what we're seeing geospatially as well is that, we're thinking about this in several levels. Like there's both chronic climate risk. So, drought affected areas, whether that be South Australia into parts of Victoria, etc., or is it acute climate risk, which are the fires, floods, etc., that kind of come through? And both are, landowners are really used to dealing with this sort of stuff. But what we need is the data behind things so that producers can get support when they need it. They can get the right loans, etc., as well, and get those government loans as well.
Mm. Do you have any aspirations internationally? This is more out of curiosity,
Oh,
whether it's New Zealand or outside Australia, New Zealand.
well, yeah, well, New Zealand is actually, I would say 2026 could be the year of New Zealand for DAS. So we actually built out the platform in New Zealand a number of years back. And again, it came from working with clients that wanted us to go there. But I have to say, like, we've always had a really solid business in Australia, but suddenly the interest in New Zealand is just really flying. And I would say that we'll be expanding the platform a lot more there over the next number of months. We've got some exciting news kind of coming down the line in terms of clients, etc. there. At the moment, we're also we're looking at some other markets.
Mm-hmm.
So Canada has always been there for us. Also, funnily enough, the UK,
Right.
UK and London. So DAS works with a lot of mutuals. There's a really good intersection between, farm mutuals and what we do. So players that really care about their customers, etc. We've seen some opportunity in London and the UK. We're keen to see what we can do there. We're doing one of the Austrade landing pads
Right.
there at the um, the US is, another market altogether. US is, everybody knows it's a super tough market. Certainly, we won't rule out any opportunity, but what we're predominantly focused on is having and growing a really successful business across Australia and New Zealand. This is more than $100 billion market alone across, everything from property, vows, finance, etc. We know what we do is valuable, and we also like being here as
Right.
well. So,
Okay. Well, I
yeah,
guess you're a tech business now with global reach, and you've got access to data
yeah,
across the globe. And I'm guessing the farmers, in the wheat belts growing corn in Middle America and all over the UK
yeah,
and everywhere have the same requirements. So if you've got the
totally.
tools and technology, I can't see why it wouldn't be of benefit.
Yeah,
But like you say, you've got to stay focused and build a business
yeah.
where it makes sense. It's not easy to scale and grow internationally overnight, but it's good to see those conversations are happening and there's a level of interest. I'm
Yeah,
sure in due course, if you ever want me to come over to Canada and do some due diligence for you, I'd happy to come and
totally.
check out the
Yeah,
the landscape and share some ideas. Look, well, I guess part of the fun of our journey is going out to meet farmers and
yeah.
kicking the dirt in our shiny shoes from the ivory tower, which is some the farmers think is all we do. I had that comment earlier during the week. It's nice that you get out of your 10th floor ivory tower. I said we're on level 7, but anyway. uh, have you had any kind of interesting experiences on farm going to meet people from the land around Australia?
Oh, totally. I mean, look, the we always say, well, one, um, we love a road trip at DAS, and we're often on the road, etc., particularly the data science team.
Hmm.
So what they'll do is at regular points through the cropping season, for instance, is they'll drive the kind of huge Ks that you drive as well through farm cap, etc. And there'll be ground sourcing or ground truthing, different things across the country, so our models become more accurate. So that's the first thing. We love a good road trip. We do say that DAS allows you to have virtual boots on the ground,
Hmm.
or virtual shiny shoes on the ground.
That's
So
clever.
well, so that we can make decisions faster. I mean, look, for me, farming and agriculture has kind of crept up on me, and there's a few things there. One, the first company that I started up, which was back in Adelaide, my original hometown, was backed by the Michelle Group of companies, which was then the largest firm, family owned as well, of wool and leather exporters. They're still around today, doing wool processing, etc. And it got me really interested in Australian ag really early on. Like I was in my early 20s, I started working with this company. I was just blown away by the opportunity for ag. They were exporting into markets that really they were some of the first to do, including in China as well, long before China was, everywhere for everyone. And it really kind of got me hooked, both on ag, but also on the opportunity that we had to take what we do here globally. It probably also, um, made me pretty obsessed about working and founding businesses
Hmm.
as well, which led to DAS in time. And, look, one of the little known facts is that, just like farming is usually a family business, DAS is actually a little bit of a family business on the side as
There
well.
you go. Okay. Well, what I do like is, I guess, from big corporates to farmers, using your product, but it's the next generation. So when I ask people, where do you think ag's going? Like, what's been the biggest change in the last 10, 20 years,
Mm.
and what do you think the next biggest change is? I think you're kind of helping bridge that gap right? And
Yeah.
so the younger generation have tools at their disposal now to make better decisions on farming for their business. So keen to hear your thoughts, I guess, on what you've seen, where you've seen ag come from. You've been in the industry now quite a while, and where you think it's going in the next generation.
Well, I think, when it's no secret to anyone that we're seeing one of the greatest transitions in, farming livelihoods here, but that's also happening everywhere else, right? Like in the EU, the average age of a farmer I think is 66. I think here, you'd know better than me, but it's similar. And, there's this massive transition going on, but with the younger generation coming through, there's a few things that strike me. Is one, I think that growing regionalisation of Australia full stop is going to see a massive boom in agriculture and the kind of innovation that we can see on farm. So when we see cascading effects like too high interest rates, too high property prices in the cities, etc., what we're already seeing now is younger generations move out to the regions. That is reflected in the lending, and that's good for what's going to happen in this next stage of agriculture. My perspective on technology is that there's a lot of amazing on-farm technology, but that farmers don't need more of that. They need better off-farm decisions. And so what we want to see is, more tools like a DAS that can unlock, finance and investment that allows them to actually grow new kinds of businesses that we haven't even thought about, right?
Yeah, that's very well said.
Yeah.
Talking about regions across Australia. Now, this is a kind of a question of passion and interest, but you've travelled the country far and wide. What are your favourite farming regions that you've enjoyed visiting? And also, I guess if I gave you an open checkbook, where would you invest? You've seen all the data. What kind of farms or what regions? Is there anything that jumps out that you would like to invest in?
Well, the open checkbook, I'll take that one. As a business owner, you always want an open checkbook.
Put it all into DAS.
Absolutely. Well, I'd be putting it into FarmCap. But
That's right. Thank you. Very kind.
I would be asking our head of Earth Observation, Sam Atkinson, to find me the best cropping property that he could find in the Western Australia wheat belt. And so from a financial perspective, I'd be using the DAS data to pick the best properties in that region. And that would be the investment and the engine that can hopefully keep DAS running a little while as well. From a lifestyle perspective as well, I mean, look, the opportunities are just endless. I mean, Tassie always tempts. I do love Red Hill Way, but that's more lifestyle, blocks, etc. as well. The Yarra Valley as well from that same lifestyle end. I married into a farming family, which has got interests, ranging from Shepparton to Dubbo to Cobram and all over the place. I do like Cobram as well, oddly enough. And look, I'd say the list is endless. I need to think a little about where I'd be spending that check.
Well, no, you're right. I think. Sorry.
Where would be? You're on the ground as well.
I am on the ground. I do get asked this question: where would I invest? Well, in terms of investment, I prefer investing in lending rather than owning. So that's my bias for lots of reasons. But again, I would be using, and I might have just unpacked a new clientele for you. But anyone looking at buying a property in rural or regional Australia should be tapping into your data. If you're a property buyer's advocate or something, you'd be silly not to, right? To kind of unlock where the opportunities lie. Yeah, no, look, I've looked at every commodity in every region. I mean, my standard line is I'd invest in a diversified agri-land operation. But from what I've seen of all the deals we've seen, is the most profitable farms are the ones run by families. Where they're passionate and hands-on and enjoy the work and the lifestyle, and it comes down to the operator. So it would be, I mean, I'd be looking at the operator and their production history and kind of the land value over long term. So something in horticulture, probably a bit more bang for buck, but slightly more risk. With some broad acre in a couple of regions, a bit of a mix across the board. But lifestyle, like you say, there's so many lovely regions for a farm stay. I'm a city boy at heart, so I don't think I could park myself anywhere too long term, although I wouldn't mind some peace and quiet from time to time as well.
You and me both. But that's no, I mean, sounds good. And look, I think when you talk about things like a couple of things stand out to me. One is like, yes, I would predict that we're going to see new kinds of buyers advocacy businesses, come off the back of rural and agri, where we help, probably city buyers like us, pick the best agri properties around using things like the DAS data. But as far as the best farming families and the profitability of farms, you can really start to tell through data as well, great farmers, right? This is going to be increasingly able to be visualized, seen, and proven. And those great farming families are going to see opportunities and finance and other things open up to them in ways because they will be able to prove, the resilience, the productivity of their farms, etc. as well, right? The best farmers will get rewarded, and that means that there's this great flywheel that's going to happen whereby, to go back to our previous kind of point, is, we're going to see new players and new families come into this next side as well that want, better lifestyle, better opportunities, a different kind of life than the one that they may have been able to get in the city.
No, I agree totally. Sarah, thanks so much for coming on the show. Your product, I can't speak more highly of. I recommend farmers or advisors take a look, book a demo. It's affordable and user-friendly. So, Sarah, thanks again, and look forward to our journey together in ag long term.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Jono, and thank you to the Aussie Farming Podcast. I love what you're doing with this podcast and the interesting stories that I'm starting to hear as well, and kind of this intersection of business and farming and agri as well. So thank you so much for having me on.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening to today's episode of Talking Aussie Farming. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can find us on all your favourite podcast platforms. See you next time.